On a typical week, what evidence do you accumulate one week to the next that you're making progress? What do you have to show for the time in terms of how it's moving you forward? Forward towards what depends on whatever you're trying to get towards. If it's a change in career, if it's a change in skills, if it's a change in ability, a change in your connections, whatever it is, what is it that on a typical week you have to show for it? And I say that, I emphasize a typical week, because life is one typical week after another. And the only times there's any exceptions to the typical week situation is, say last week, we had a little bit of family Thanksgiving, at least here in the States. Coming up in December, may have a week or two off from work, depending on people's situation, to visit family, maybe away from school, whatever it might be. But in those situations, it actually becomes both kind of inappropriate and just not where energy's at to use that time to really try to move ourselves forward. We shouldn't. It's a break. It's supposed to be. We don't want to use that vacation time to focus in on things that aren't our families or rest and recovery or whatever it is. We need those things. Those are important functions, which is why I emphasize, once again, on a typical week, what do you have to show in terms of making progress? And this is something that it could be as little as an hour a week, which can sound like not much. But if you're not able to get in an hour, then you're not making any progress. And it means that after another year of another 50 of those normal weeks, minus maybe again 2 accumulated vacation times out from the normal routine, you've either got 50 hours of progress or you got none. And you're exactly the same place you were a year ago, having not made any forward progress. And as these things go, obviously, if you're not making at least some progress, you're kind of gradually sliding back, just like physical conditioning or kind of anything else. Practicing a second language, whatever it might be. Finding that time, making it fit, is partly important because it helps us keep ourselves in control of the path that we're on. That if we're not finding a way to fit in that hour or two, maybe an evening. Sometimes it's actually easier, I find, with people I've worked with to pick an evening and be like, Monday night is the one time each week I set aside for it. Because if it's an hour, it's real easy to kind of accidentally schedule over that, to bleed something over it, to get too strict in thinking how we can pack it in. If we kind of allocate, okay, I'm going to try to pick one evening a week. Maybe it's one early morning on a Saturday, whatever it is, and just not schedule things around that. Or if I have to, then to move that time to somewhere else for that week, so that each week I'm making some sort of progress on it. That's what allows us to stay having an influence on what it is we're doing. That it's not just coming down to whatever the boss or the professor or somebody else assigns us, and we wind up on whatever track they're going to leave us on, which it's not nothing, but we're not in control of that. We're letting somebody else drive and we're in the passenger seat. We're kind of more so sitting in the back. And I'll talk more about it another day. It's going to be one of the things we're going to mention in the getyourselftodothings.com stuff, which, by the way, once again, if you join the list, awesome. If you haven't go ahead and do it. But one of the things we talk about is ways we can try to use what little time we have to get more time, what little bits of energy we have to get more energy, what ways we can use what little money we have to potentially find ways to get more money, and not any sort of like crazy get rich quick scheme kind of way, but just thinking about however little we have in resources and energy and attention and so on, and connections, whatever it is, that's what we got to work with. And you're either using it in a way that's going to potentially help lead to more of it, or you are kind of come to terms with that's the amount you can allocate, that's the bubble you're going to stay in. Because the only way you get more of any of those things is to try to figure out what are you doing consistently, so that every single week you have some sort of evidence to show. And when I say evidence, I say it because it's not just time thinking about it. It's not just time scribbling some sort of undecipherable notes that aren't presentable. It is making progress on a draft. It's adding more pages. It's another demo, like we do in Game Keto Club with our weekly meetings, where we're trying to show, here's what the game does that it didn't do last week. Next week, here's our goal for what we're going to do next. That's how we keep those wheels rolling until the project releases, is make sure every single week there's some sort of tangible evidence. And you can think of it as evidence you could show someone else, a supervisor, a manager, a mentor, that you're really doing something, but really you're doing it so you can show yourself. Because if you're not, you might be fooling yourself in terms of if you're actually moving forward, actually making progress, actually getting closer to your bigger arc, your bigger goal you're trying to get yourself to do, whether it's releasing a thing, making some original music, putting together enough short stories, you feel good about compiling them, whatever it might be. That's how it happens in a typical week. If you're not making the progress, you're not going to have anything to show for it a year later. Because life is, like I said in the beginning, one typical week after another. So that's not for today. If you haven't joined up yet, getyourselftodothings.com. Check that out. See you on the list. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have another video for y'all tomorrow. Bye for now.